Welcome to Bookpods.
It's great to be here.
We have a massive stack of notes on the desk today because we are revisiting the absolute grandfather of the self-help genre.
Hmm.
This is the book that's probably gathering dust on your dad's shelf, your boss's shelf, maybe even your own. We are diving into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
It really is a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
But what struck me looking at all this is that the book is nearly 90 years old.
90 years. Wow.
Yeah, published in 1936, right in the middle of the Great Depression. And yet, if you look at, modern psychology or corporate training today, they're basically just remixing what Carnegie wrote. It's still the Bible of social intelligence.
It really is. But, okay, before we get into the how-tos, I think we have to address the elephant in the room.
The title?
The title, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm-hmm.
To a modern ear, that sounds kind of slimy.
It does sound a bit like a con artist handbook.
Right. It sounds like, here is how to trick people into doing what you want. It just feels manipulative. I mean, if I have to use a technique to get you to like me, is that even real?
That is a fair point, and honestly, if you use these principles just to get your way, it is manipulation.
Okay.
But Carnegie hits his head on. He argues the difference is intent. He's not teaching you how to deceive. He's teaching you how to align your goals with someone else's needs. It's less about tricking and more like radical empathy.
Radical empathy. I like that. Because the problem we're trying to solve here is one we all face. You know those people who just seem to glide through life? They walk into a tense meeting and just diffuse it. They get the promotion. They win an argument without the other person even realizing they lost.
And then there's the rest of us, sort of pushing the boulder uphill.
Exactly. So why? What do they have that we don't?
Well, the short answer isn't IQ. It's not about raw intelligence.
Yeah.
It's what we now call EQ, emotional intelligence. And if you had to boil this whole 90-year-old philosophy down to one single idea, it's this. Humans are not creatures of logic.
We like to think we are.
We love to think we are. We think we make decisions based on facts and data, but we don't. We are creatures of emotion, creatures of pride, and creatures of, vanity.
Right.
And if you try to navigate your career or your relationships using only logic, you're just going to hit a wall.
Right.
But if you understand that everyone you meet has this deep, burning need to feel important, you can unlock just about any door.
Okay, so let's get practical. We've organized our research today into three main buckets. The anti-criticism rule, the fish and worm method of persuasion, and finally, a leadership hack involving chalk that is honestly genius.
Sounds like a solid roadmap.
Let's start with the foundation, this beehive concept. The notes describe it as, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive.
Right. This is Carnegie's whole stance on criticism, and it is extreme. He basically says, never criticize, condemn, or complain.
Okay, hold on. Never. I mean, that feels impossible. If someone on my team completely messes up a project, I have to say something, right?
Well, let's look at the psychology of what actually happens when you criticize. When you tell someone you messed up, what's their immediate reaction? Do they say, oh, thank you for that feedback, I'll change right away?
No. They get defensive. The wall just shoots right up.
Exactly. They rationalize. They blame the system, the traffic, the instructions. Criticism puts people on the defensive because it wounds their pride. It attacks that sense of self-importance.
So they stop listening.
They stop listening. They're just trying to protect their ego. You're triggering a fight or flight response, not a learning response.
Right.
And that brings us to one of the most powerful stories in the book. It's about Bob Hoover.
The test pilot.
The famous test pilot. This story is just wild. It's the 1950s. Hoover's flying back from an air show in a World War II propeller plane.
Oh, wow, a vintage plane.
A vintage plane. He's got two other people on board, and suddenly, at 300 feet in the air, bam, both engines just die.
300 feet, that's nothing. That's basically zero time to react.
It's a death sentence. The props stop spinning.
Yeah.
The cockpit goes silent. But somehow, Hoover manages to glide it down and crash land. The plane is destroyed. A complete write-off.
But everyone's okay.
Miraculously, nobody is hurt. So Hoover climbs out of the wreckage and immediately checks the fuel tanks.
And he figures it out.
Instantly. The mechanic had filled this propeller plane with jet fuel.
Oh, no.
A massive, negligent error. So put yourself in that situation. You just nearly died. Your expensive vintage plane is totaled. And standing over there on the tarmac is the young mechanic who did it.
He's probably terrified.
He's crying. He knows he's ruined his career, almost killed 3 people. Now, if that were me, honestly, if that were 99% of bosses.
Oh, the screaming would be epic.
Epic. It would feel so justified, too. But Hoover didn't do that.
What did he do?
He walked over, put his arm around the crying guy's shoulder, and said, "To show you, I'm sure that you'll never do this again, I want you to service my F-51 tomorrow."
That's insane. That's a level of self-control I just don't think I have. Why?
Because Hoover understood human nature. If he'd screamed, what happens? The mechanic is traumatized, he gets defensive, maybe he quits or gets fired. He just learns to hide his mistakes.
By forgiving him.
By forgiving him, by showing faith in him when he least deserved it, Hoover created absolute loyalty.
I bet that mechanic checked every screw on Hoover's planes 3 times for the rest of his life.
You better believe it. That's the difference. Criticism breeds resentment. Forgiveness breeds loyalty.
And that connects to the deeper drive you mentioned, right? The need to be important.
Yes. Freud called it the desire to be great. It's the deepest urge in human nature. It's why we wear certain clothes, buy certain cars, post on social media. We are all just screaming, "Look at me, I matter."
But there's a trap here, isn't there? Because if I just walk around telling people they're great, it sounds fake. It sounds like flattery.
A crucial distinction. Carnegie warns against flattery. He says it's like counterfeit money. It'll get you in trouble. Flattery's lazy. It's, "Oh, you're a genius."
And it's usually about me. I'm flattering you because I want something.
Exactly. Appreciation, on the other hand, is specific and unselfish. It means you actually paid attention. Instead of, "You're a great worker," you say, "I noticed you stayed late to fix that coding error, and it really saved the launch timeline."
Ah, see. Flattery is identity. You are smart. Appreciation is behavior. You did this specific thing.
Exactly. One feeds the ego junk food, the other validates the effort.
Okay, so we're not kicking the beehive, we're feeding the need for importance. Now, how do we get people to actually enjoy our presence? The research points to an unlikely mentor here, a dog.
It sounds ridiculous, but think about it. The dog is the only animal that doesn't have to work for a living.
That's true.
A hen lays eggs, a cow gives milk, a dog. A dog makes its living by giving you nothing but love.
You come home after a terrible day and the dog acts like you're a rock star. They're just happy you exist.
And that's why we love them. They're genuinely interested in us. Carnegie has this quote, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you."
That is the aha moment. We spend so much time trying to be interesting, but the secret is to be interested.
And there's a really simple hack for this. It's the sweetest sound in any language.
A person's name.
The name. Using someone's name is the simplest way to say, "I see you, you matter."
There's a great story about Andrew Carnegie, the steel tycoon. When he was a poor kid in Scotland, he found a nest of baby rabbits.
But he had no food for them.
None! So he goes to the neighborhood kids and makes a deal. He says, "If you go pick dandelions and clover to feed these rabbits, I will name the bunnies after you."
And it worked.
Like magic, the kids worked their tails off just to have a rabbit named Bob or Mary. They felt important. And he used that same trick decades later.
The Pullman merger.
Exactly. He's in a business war with George Pullman over sleeping cars. They're killing each other's profits. Carnegie finally goes to Pullman to suggest a merger.
And Pullman is skeptical. He has a huge ego.
Massive.
Yeah.
He asks, "Well, what would we call the new company?" And Carnegie, without hesitating, says, "The Pullman Palace Car Company."
He gave away the naming rights.
He erased his own name from the headline, and Pullman's face just lit up. He made the deal. Carnegie suppressed his own ego to get what he actually wanted, which was the profit.
That is so hard to do. We're so attached to getting credit.
Yeah.
But it goes back to that important rule.
Before we move on, I want to touch on one physical tool, the smile. It feels a bit cliche, right? Just smile.
It does, but the biology is fascinating. The notes mentioned this stockbroker, William Steinhardt, a total grouch. He decided to try the smile experiment. He started smiling at everyone. He said he found more happiness in 2 months than in the previous year. But more importantly, people smiled back. It's mirror neurons. If I smile at you, your brain is hardwired to mimic it. And when you mimic it, you actually start to feel it.
So it's not just looking pleasant, it's triggering a reciprocal loop. Okay, let's get into the heavy stuff. Persuasion. How do I get people to do what I want?
The short answer, stop talking about what you want.
This is the fish and worm analogy.
Exactly. Let's say you love cheesecake. But if you go fishing, you don't bait your hook with cheesecake. You use a worm.
Why? Because that's what the fish wants.
It's painfully obvious when we talk about fishing. But in business, we throw cheesecake at people all day long. We say, "I want a raise because I need to fix my car." The boss doesn't care about your car. That's your cheesecake.
So the worm is what they want.
You have to step out of your own brain and ask, what does this person crave? If you want a raise, you say, I have a plan to streamline our operations that will save the department 10% next quarter.
You frame your desire as the solution to their problem.
That's the only way on earth to influence other people. Talk about what they want.
But that's so hard to do when we disagree. When we get into an argument, the instinct is to prove I'm right.
And here's where Carnegie dropped maybe his most controversial take. You cannot win an argument.
I have to push back on that. If we're arguing about a sales figure and I pull up the spreadsheet and prove you're wrong, I win.
You win the logic. You win the fact check. But you lose the person. Think about it. If I prove you're wrong, how do you feel about me?
I resent you. I want to see you fail next time.
Exactly. You've hurt my pride. And a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You haven't changed his mind. You've just forced him into silence.
So the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it.
Or to handle it so gently it never feels like one. There's a case study about a guy named Wayne who sold lumber.
The White Oak story.
Yes. And the inspector kept rejecting his wood, claiming it was the wrong grade. Now, Wayne knew the inspector was wrong.
He could have just pulled out the rulebook and said, you're an idiot.
And he would have lost a customer for life. Instead, Wayne went to the site and just asked questions. He said, can you help me understand exactly what you need so I don't mess up next time?
He asked for help. He made the inspector the expert.
Exactly. He validated the inspector's knowledge. And as the inspector started explaining the rules, he realized he was the one making the mistake. But he realized it himself. Wayne never once said, you're wrong.
So he could change his mind without losing face.
That is the key, letting the other person save face.
Let's transition to the final bucket, leadership. Because eventually you have to drive performance. You can't just be nice all the time.
And this brings us to Charles Schwab. He was one of the first American executives to be paid $1 million a year. And it wasn't because he knew steel, it was because he knew people.
The chalk story, this is basically the invention of gamification, isn't it?
It really is. Schwab has a steel mill that's underperforming. He's tried everything. He walks into the mill at the end of the day shift and asks a worker, how many heats did your shift make today? The guy says, 6.
And Schwab doesn't say, that's not enough.
Says nothing. He takes a piece of chalk, writes a big number 6 on the floor, and just walks away.
Ooh, that's ominous.
So the night shift comes in. They see a 6 and ask, what's that? The day shift guys say, the big boss was here and he wrote down what we made.
And the night shift took that personally.
They did. It became a contest. They thought, we're better than them. So they worked out crazy, and the next morning they rubbed out the 6 and wrote a big 7.
And then the day shift comes in and goes, oh, it is on.
Exactly. Schwab didn't criticize. He didn't offer a bonus. He just threw down a challenge. He appealed to their desire to excel.
It's amazing how simple that is. But let's say you're in an office. The notes mention a verbal tactic for feedback I think is really useful, the but versus and hack.
This is a tiny grammar switch that changes everything. Usually we give feedback like, John, you did a great job on that presentation, but you really need to check your spelling.
I say that all the time, the sandwich method.
The problem is the word but. As soon as someone hears but, they mentally delete everything you said before it. The praise just feels like a setup.
So what's the fix?
You replace but with and. So, John, you did a great job on the presentation, and if you focus on the spelling next time, it will be absolutely perfect.
It's subtle, but it feels different. But creates conflict and creates a bridge.
Exactly. You're adding to their success, not subtracting from it.
There's one last leadership principle I want to hit. The idea of giving a dog a good name.
This is about reputation. People tend to live up to the expectations you set for them. If you treat an employee like they're lazy, they'll act lazy.
But if you treat them like they are already the person you want them to be.
Yes. There's a story about a manager dealing with a bad employee. Instead of firing him, the manager took him aside and said, I know you are a capable hard worker. I've seen how you handle X, and I know you can bring that same excellence to this new project.
He gave him a reputation to live up to.
He did. And the employee transformed. Because now he had an image to protect. It appeals to a noble motive. Most people want to believe they're good people. If you assume they are, they will often prove you right.
It's like the Pygmalion effect in psychology. High expectations lead to improved performance.
It is incredibly powerful stuff.
So let's bring this all home. We've covered the beehive, the fish and worm, the smile, the name, the chalk. What's the big synthesis here?
I think the big takeaway for Bookpods listeners is this. Real success isn't about domination. It's not about being the smartest person in the room who wins every debate. It's about suppressing your own ego to allow the other person's ego to shine.
That is a hard pill to swallow. We all want to be the shiny one.
We do. But the paradox is, when you shine the light on others, when you make them feel important, when you listen, when you use their name, they love you for it. They'll work harder for you, they'll agree with you, they will lift you up.
So by giving away the credit, you actually get more of it in the long run.
That's it exactly.
I love that. So here is the challenge for you, the listener. Try one specific thing today, just for the next 24 hours.
Try to go one full day without criticizing, condemning, or complaining about anyone. Not your spouse, not your kids, not the politician on the news. Just bite your tongue.
That is surprisingly hard. I've tried it. You realize how much we complain by default.
And if that's too much, try the smile challenge. Smile at everyone you meet today. The cashier, the bus driver, your coworkers. See what happens.
It might just change your day. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Go out there, win some friends, and remember, kindness is a superpower.